In this review of the week's news, social housing is on the up, freedom campers get a second chance, and what would you go 2 weeks without? Kia ora, welcome to CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Well, social housing rebuilds are underway across Christchurch, and Littleton now has its first since the earthquakes. But it's not just about rehousing those who need it most, it's also about keeping the community intact. Here's more. A second chance for these historic social housing units being restored to their former glory at this reopening ceremony. It's one of the first completed projects in Littleton, restocking the council's portfolio of public flats, taking a huge hit in the February 2011 earthquake. And the council's social housing manager says there's been a lot of work to get these houses back in shape, and they're better than ever.
With respect to this complex, it was actually not a very good complex before the earthquakes. It was cold, there were no insulation in the walls, very little in the ceiling and that. So it's one of these rare occasions where the actual earthquakes gave us an opportunity to improve things for the tenants.
The flats were earmarked for demolition following the quakes, but there was a change of tactic from the council, who decided to repair.
Sarah had actually issued a Section 38 demolition order for the complex, but I'm pleased to say council took a brave step and actually decided to repair the complex, and in repairing it we fully insulated it. We've strengthened it up to the 100% of the new building standards, so they're now warm, cosy and strong units and fit for purpose. So we're looking forward to getting the tenants back in and working our way through the rest of the units within the Littleton side.
There was severe damage to all 4 units, seeing cracks and gaps throughout, with it immediately closed and the tenants relocated. Now he says with the flats open, it's a great step forward for the Littleton community.
I think it's pretty big for Littleton. We've got 4 social housing complexes over here. This is the second of which that we've repaired, and we're working our way through the remaining 2 there. So it's really great to get these back into service and to demonstrate that we're making good tangible progress.
The cottage was built back in 1965 and is named after GLADYS Boyd, one of the first female councillors elected to the township's board in 1947. The 4 flats were originally built to cater for pensioners, as there was a need for them at the time, and her name was chosen for her services to the community. And the grandson of GLADYS says he's happy to see the cottage restored.
I thought the world of my grandmother, and to me it's fantastic. I'm rapt. I really was keen on this, push for it, and it is a very deep meaning for myself and my son. He's a great-grandson, and the Boyd name that Grandma, this was named after her because of the work she did in the community. In fact, the other set of cottages called Tredenick, and the other down the main street, London Street, after my other grandfather on my other side, because both of them did a lot of work in the community. So it's great. I just think it's fabulous.
The Banks Peninsula Councillor says the repair of these facilities is important to keep up with demand.
Any social housing in Littleton is always in high demand. Littleton's a classic example of they're not making any more land. It's a finite space. It's enclosed by the hills around the top and the water at the bottom. And of course, Littleton is a real community. So when people are living here, they want to continue living here. Of course, property prices in Littleton have escalated significantly, even since the earthquakes, and had been doing for some time before that. And rents have gone up in Littleton as well. So to be able to use these social housing units to allow people to remain in the Littleton community and to continue paying affordable rents, be part of their support networks and social networks here is hugely important.
And he says the social housing block will help with other repairs going on in the community.
We've now got 2 people living in 2 of the units, and we've got the other 2 units available, and we're going to be using those as temporary accommodation for tenants of other social housing units in Littleton, which are going to be repaired in the near future as well.
So it's another achievement from the City Council, with an ongoing issue heading in the right direction. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Well, so far this year, the inner city rebuild has seen growth, with new buildings popping up everywhere you look. And the next to join the trend is the Performing Arts Precinct, the first new building being given the go-ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beginning of a new project to hit the central city. This 3-storey building is ready to make its appearance at the Performing Arts Precinct, being located behind the recently opened Isaac Theatre Royal on Armour Street. The project will cost around $17.5 million and is headed by the Music Centre of Christchurch Trust, working alongside the Christchurch City Council, Sarah and the government. It's one of the first new buildings in the area to take shape, and the centre's director says it's been a long time in the making.
4 years on, 3 sets of plans later, we've started.
The facility was a major part of the Christchurch music scene, being established back in 1994 as the Music Centre of Christchurch. But due to the earthquakes, the centre was left with nothing.
We lost that site, we lost the use of that land, the Sisters of the Mission claimed it back. We did have $10 million in insurance, so we were able to do some planning. We worked with the architect on 3 sets of plans. The
first site saw the vision of the new Performing Arts Centre, but without a piece of land to build on. Then a similar layout to the previous one. And now this. It's being named The Piano, drawn up by architect Alan Wilkie to reflect both music and arts. And the design features considered are based around a grand piano, from the curved exterior to the playing keys on the windows. Anne Bronwyn says the project is important for the people of Christchurch.
People are tired of hearing promises, and to actually have something happening is, I wake up and I can't actually believe it's happening. It's very exciting.
The Performing Arts Precinct is located around Armour, Colombo, Gloucester and New Regent Street and is said to house the Christchurch Symphony Orchestra building and Court Theatre, with no starting dates due yet. And it's only a short distance around from the current site of the Christchurch Town Hall. However, Bronwyn says the facility has many uses, some including 4 studios and rooms for private music lessons. It's a real multi-purpose facility.
There's a concert hall of about 350 seats, a stage that can take a choir of 120 or a orchestra of 70. We've also got 2 wooden sprung floor rooms that can take 100 people for dance and drama that are let out on a casual basis, so they can be for salsa or any form, ballet and all sorts of drama workshops.
The centre is due to open to audiences by June 2016. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. One last chance, but for how long? Freedom campers will be allowed to camp at the North Brighton car park until the council can come up with a better solution. But will this work? Here's more.
Freedom campers have been given another chance. Stopping short of introducing a new bylaw to restrict them from camping in Christchurch City's public areas and beachfront, the council has instead taken a more measured approach, for the time being at least. All Freedom campers will now be considered by the council's enforcement unit on a case-by-case basis. They'll also be encouraged to move to paid accommodation sites and encouraged to park up at the North New Brighton car park only. So, will this work? Well, to some, Freedom campers have become a nuisance over the summer period here in Christchurch, taking over public car parks in New Brighton and frustrating local residents. Predominantly tourists, there are also claims they don't clean up after themselves and are noisy at night time. The council is still looking for a long-term solution as they investigate the possibility of introducing a new bylaw. But this week it says it wants to work through other options before the idea of a bylaw is on the table. The North Brighton Beach car park has been identified as a temporary solution and will be trialled for a short time. People will be given the opportunity to participate in discussions on a longer-term approach.
Well, still to come, Canterbury University students go 2 weeks without for charity, but just how much did they raise? Welcome back. The anti-bullying message is starting early for local children. Al Grego the Magician has been visiting Christchurch primary schools to raise awareness.
Ready.
He's here to send out a positive message about a negative problem facing many schools around the country. But this magician, best known as Al Grego, is here at this Christchurch primary school this morning, spreading some magic to students about bullying. ROYDVALE is one of 6 schools getting a visit from this top performer, starting this particular program over 15 years ago. And the school's principal says it's a great way for the students to understand how they should treat others in their learning environment.
I think it's a really good message for the children to hear in a really light-hearted way.
But the focus isn't just at schools, but at home too. And she says they've taken an active move in improving the issue.
We got our parents to fill out a survey a couple of weeks ago on our website about bullying at ROYDVALE School, so we could see what were some of the things that were happening here so we could address some of those problems.
Bullying can be physical violence or even through the internet or text messaging. But Jenny says there's no one problem at all schools and it comes down by case-by-case situations.
We have children who say to us they get left out. So for us, that's something that we need to look at and address and teach children how to include others and have a more inclusive environment. So I think it really totally depends on each individual school.
But the message to get out here is their support and help for those dealing with bullies.
Don't panic. We've all been called a name at some stage, okay? But it's when people don't stop calling you names. Oh, it's not much fun. Or if people keep saying things that are untrue, things that are unkind about you, that's no fun either.
He's performed to more than 800,000 people, travelling throughout New Zealand with his show assistant and wife Sue. And this year he wants students to have fun with the performance and learn important life skills.
Here we go, Stinger. Have you got the blue? You're not going to let...
He received the New Zealand Order of Merit for his services to education, and now he's presenting this program, You've Got the Power, being here to both entertain and reassure kids through music, song and laughter, giving them the steps to succeed.
You may have heard another word at school, kia kaha. Kia kaha is a Maori word. It means to walk tall, put your head high, to be strong.
And the principal says the issue is getting targeted head on, and it's positive to see progress throughout all schools.
So I think schools are doing a really good job around the country around bringing in programs like the Kia Kaha program that the police education produce, getting support material like with El Grego coming in and teaching children bullying is not okay. So I do think schools are doing a good job around that.
And although it's a serious topic, this show will be remembered by these children for its message and entertainment.
Definitely the last. Stop it, Stinger. That's enough. Moving along.
Jared McCulloch, CTV News. The things you do for charity. A group of Canterbury University students have spent the last 2 weeks without doing things like looking at their own reflection. But just how well did they do? It's been the challenge for around 100 Canterbury University students, giving up something for 2 weeks, all in the name of charity. Now the fortnight's up and the organisers of this creative fundraising event say it was a huge success.
We were blown away by the donations raised from the emerging leaders taking part in it. They went above and beyond, and it was such a special moment to have all the charities come and personally thank them. It was awesome.
And all up, the team raised over $5,700.
It was awesome. The donations just kept going up and up and up. We couldn't believe it.
It all started over 3 months ago when Bridget and Rachael teamed up to start a new innovative idea to get people involved in an alternative way of raising money, all for a good cause.
How 2 Weeks Without came about was an idea that me and my twin sister had to bring us closer together. And we thought, let's go 2 weeks without these crazy ideas, but let's donate to our favourite charities. And we thought, let's bring everyone involved into it. We were lucky enough to receive the UC Innovators Scholarship, which gave us 10 whole weeks to bring the social enterprise to life. So it's super recent, and we're just stoked to see how much it's grown in such a short period of time.
There were 11 teams of 10 from the Emerging Leaders program at the university taking part in the fundraising effort for charities, including Husky Rescue, the White Elephant Trust and Help for the Homeless. And with every new project comes a trial period to see if it would really work.
I went 2 weeks without shoes. I was lucky because I did it over summertime, so it was really good weather.
As for Rachael,
It was fine, like it wasn't too difficult compared to some of the ones the emerging leaders have come up with, but it's important to remember that when Bridget went 2 weeks without shoes and I went two weeks without makeup, we had no resources at that stage. We certainly didn't have a website, we had very few connections, and we didn't know how to do online fundraising, so we were sort of just stumbling through it as we went.
But when the teams got together, the question was, what would they go 2 weeks without?
One of the most challenging ones was 2 weeks without hot water, which Team Purple did. So they weren't only allowed to not have showers, they also couldn't have tea or Milo or anything like that. So they, on last Friday, they actually won the award for most challenging prize because it was pretty difficult.
There's a number of different things you can do for 2 weeks without. You can go without shoes or even your iPhone, or maybe your reflection.
So they couldn't see Facebook photos of themselves, no selfies, couldn't look in the peripheral vision of seeing them past shop windows. So every time they'd open up their laptops and lectures, they'd have to quickly put it down so they wouldn't look at their reflection. So yeah, that was quite a challenging one, but also really creative as well.
But although they managed no shoes and makeup, could they manage some of the other challenges?
Oh, No Snapchat on the reflection, that could be a little bit tricky. And no hot water as we're heading into winter. I think that would be a little bit miserable. So the emerging leaders probably did it at just the right time, before it got really too cold and their flats were a little bit freezing.
And when the 2 weeks were up, a prize-giving event was held to officially give the donations to the chosen local charities.
We held the event here at the Shilling Club last Friday at 7 p.m. We had more than 100 people turn up, so all of the emerging leaders who took part in the 2 weeks without were there, and plus we had representatives from each of the 3 charities there as well. So yeah, really successful night, and Bridget and I were really humbled to be a part of this really awesome movement that's helped local charities.
The next step is to put the challenge forth to other universities and businesses around the country to see if they could go 2 weeks without. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Still to come, the council offers incentives to green the CBD, but are developers likely to take up the offer? Welcome back. A Christchurch developer is shooting down plans in front of the City Council, wanting to see more green space in the CBD. Up to 15 property owners are being offered rates rebates in exchange for letting a transitional project be built on their land. But the developers say it's not viable. Marcus Gibbs has the details.
It's a common sight in Christchurch. Empty spaces where earthquake-damaged buildings once stood, scattered throughout the central city. Greening the Rubble, Gap Filler and a group called Life in Vacant Spaces have transformed many of these sites over the last 4 years, providing a depth of colour for the locals and tourists to enjoy.
We've worked with art installations, with events like Festival of Transitional Architecture, with, startup businesses like food carts or, galleries or, retail shops in prefabs.
Lately, no one has been willing to let Greening the Rubble build a temporary garden on their site. Instead, developers are choosing car parks over colour, or choosing instead to completely rebuild. That's where the Christchurch City Council comes in, and Strategy and Finance Committee will tomorrow consider a proposal from the Life in Vacant Spaces Trust to offer an incentive for developers willing to allow their land to be used as a hub for a transitional project.
We're very, very excited about it.
A rates for emission is one possible option. However, staff are recommending the council adopts a different option, which would make a cash grant available for property owners to offset rates. $75,000 is up for grabs. That's 15 $5,000 grants, one per project or site.
The rates rebates will open up a whole lot of other possibilities.
However, a major property developer in Christchurch is not certain the $75,000 incentive scheme will fly with other property owners.
$5,000 in the context of things when you take into account the rates that the owner will have to pay and potentially the loss of income that he might have to forego by not using the site in other areas such as car parking or leasing the site to construction companies and so forth. It's a relatively small sum of money, so I'm not sure how effective it will be.
Ernest says on a large site in the central city, rates can be as high as $15,000 to $20,000 a year for a piece of vacant land. Ernest DeVille says it's simple, car parks just pay more.
Property owners are really motivated to try and get an income stream, and the easiest, most flexible way for them to do that is to lease it out for short, long-term car parking, because then at any stage they can step in and develop the site.
A developer earns 50% of the revenue if a car park company uses their site. Even Bree can agree, it's tough to win over the developers.
Yeah, a lot of them end up putting in a car park just to cover their base costs while they're working through their future plans.
Bree's hoping small, community-minded landowners will find the rates rebate a great idea.
The fact is those kind of small-scale activities, they contribute a lot to the city's economy in the long term, but they may not contribute any income to the landowner, at least in those initial stages. So the rates rebates will definitely be a big help with that.
Might favour some guy who has got a small site and has no intentions to do anything with it in the medium or long term.
One solution could be for organisations to work to beautify the car parks, creating small long-term projects.
The council gets the beautification that it wants and the property owner gets his income stream.
If the Strategy and Finance Committee signs off the proposal, the next step is for the full council to vote. The grant would be available from May until June next year. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Christchurch is consistently changing, and the latest addition to our ever-changing city is the new $20 million Margaret Mayhew Memorial Playground. It's designed by primary school students. The final designs have been released and now work is starting. Marcus Gibbs caught up with the young designers.
Nearly 2 years ago, Christchurch was swept up in excitement. These 3 students had won the Amazing Place competition after designing a playground straight out of Margaret Mayhew's books, with castles, turrets, slides, a fantastic all-ages playground in the heart of the city.
I just had this idea to have a Margaret Mayhew Memorial Playground.
Now, after a slow start, this project is kicking off. The former home of the Centennial Pool is prepped and ready. Work is about to begin, and the children's designs will soon be brought to life.
It's really great knowing that work is getting underway and we're going to have a playground soon.
More than 6,000 Canterbury school children took part in the competition, and more than 300 different entries were submitted. But it was these students from Selwyn House School that were deemed the best with their fantastic design, a tribute to the late children's author, Margaret Mayhew.
I'm really excited to be able to go on it because it's something that we've worked for from the sketching right to now, and I think it's going to be really awesome and to have everyone there, and it will be sort of like, I built this.
The Margaret Mayhew Memorial Playground design draws heavily on regional themes such as the Canterbury Plains, coast and wetlands, with water play being a key feature of the playground. Most of the $20 million budget will be spent on landscaping, decking, paving and lighting. $3 million will be spent on some of the world's top playground equipment. There will be a 10-metre high climbing tower, a 4-metre wide slide and a double flying fox. Fun for the whole family.
I think it'll be amazing. I'm particularly looking forward to the slide because, as you said, it was 4 metres wide, and it'll be really cool because you'll be able to slide down it with lots of friends at the same time.
The playground will take up about a hectare of a large block bound by the Avon River and Manchester, Madras and Armagh streets. The rest of the block will include parkland for the community. These 4 young designers hope the entire city will be able to enjoy their playground, no matter someone's age.
I personally don't think you can ever grow out of a playground because as you get older, you will start just using it differently. It's all the imagination.
It's not hard to see the similarities between the girls' original design and the artist's impressions released to the public.
I think there are a lot of the ideas and the general concepts that we wanted to have in this. We really wanted the idea of reading and that into it, and that's one thing that they've really put in.
For these junior architects, the next few months are going to be very exciting as they watch their playground come to life. The Prime Minister himself gave their design his tick of approval. This competition, just what Christchurch needed.
Part of the rebuild is physically people seeing progress. Part of it is about hope and vision for the city, and having youngsters engaged in what the future of playgrounds and things will look like gives them a sense of ownership in the future of Christchurch.
Contemporaneans are thrilled with the finished designs. They can't wait to see them turned into a reality.
Yeah, I think it would be great.
Looks brilliant. Looks brilliant for children.
I think it looks really cool. Yeah, it looks like it will be a lot of fun.
The playground is slightly delayed. The first elements were supposed to be open to the public by Easter. That's only a few weeks away. But when CTV visited the site this week, groundworks were only just beginning. Sarah hopes that once complete, this world-class playground will attract people into the central city. It's a place where these students can bring their families.
I've got 2 younger brothers, and so I'm really excited for seeing them happen because they don't remember me working on it, so they'll be like, oh my gosh, my sister did this.
A playground from the picture books for all of Christchurch to enjoy when it opens this spring. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
And that is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.